to avoid having to have turkey until New Year's Day.
Sounds like a smart move.
So we had a lot of fun. Great weather.
Did you get your M1 Pro Mac going, Chuck? The Pro Max?
David, I have not put it into service yet.
Yeah.
Because I've been testing things and making sure that, I mean, I do some test edits and make sure everything works fine, because I don't want to just do a wholesale move over. So
I just got mine today for work.
Yeah, as much as I'm anxious to use it, I've done a couple renders on it, and it's just staggering how good it is and how fast it is. So I'm waiting on, I'm going to be, in fact, we'll be talking about this on the show, but there won't be a MacVoices Live Tuesday. I'm going out of town and traveling again.
Next week.
So won't get back until probably late sometime Tuesday night.
You're talking about next week?
Yes. Yeah. So, I'm hoping to get some time after that to get it, actually up and running and ready to be the daily driver. But, and I also am not exactly, I was also delaying it a little bit because I wasn't anxious to take a brand new machine and just drag it out, to a hotel somewhere, and
Sure.
you just never know. So, once I get back, I'll be set until CES, and that'll give me time to really break it in and play with it.
Sounds good.
Yes. So how about yours? How are you finding it, David?
I just got it today. It came this morning. So the little bit of time I've used it, it's pretty fast. It's just the M1 Pro.
Yeah. I mean, I did a render that I did side by side. My old 16-inch and the new M1 Max. And it went from 30 minutes, it went 60 minutes on the old one and just under 30 minutes on the new one.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Staggering.
Am I giving you any lag today? Am I good?
Talk again, just to be sure.
Test 1, 2. Welcome.
Nope.
Okay, good.
Nope, looks good.
I turned off Wi-Fi.
Yeah. I love your background, Mark. We'll talk about more about that.
Yeah, we can talk about that, and also have thoughts about the Apple trade-in or upgrade or Apple new leasing program.
Good.
There's various ways of thinking about it. But I think a lot of people are going to scream and cry because it's not what they're dreaming for. But
look who's here.
Levy.
Mr. Searle.
Mr. Microphone himself.
It's been a while.
Mr. Searle cannot hear us, so we can say all kind of nasty things about his relatives.
He's using AirPods, so I'm gonna be here about complaining about it.
1, 2, 3.
I can hear you.
He can count.
I can. I've been able to count for a long time.
Well, it's been a while.
It has been.
I know.
Good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be had.
Yeah.
And a new mic.
What a surprise.
I picked up a Elgato Wave 3. It's got like loopback like software that's built in. It's actually it's very elegant.
Someday, guy, you're going to show up and say, I'm using the same mic I have been for the past 3 weeks, and we're all just going to pass right out. There's going to be no show.
See, that's the plan. Then I take over the entire show, and no one can stop me.
Yep. Not a doubt in my mind. Not a doubt in my mind.
So what are we talking about tonight? I don't even know.
Well, I have the security story to tell. There is, we were going to talk about the business upgrade laptop program, and throw in Jack Dorsey stepping down from Twitter, and anything else anybody wants to bring up.
Do you still have access to Slack, guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He just doesn't pay attention.
Just
To what?
check it. They post stuff in the MacVoices Live Slack feed.
What is it I don't pay attention to?
Slack.
What?
One of those many time distractors that are best left unchecked.
Got it.
Oh my. 7:54.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
It should be dancing. Yeah.
I covered up the chat room. There are people in the chat room. Hello, Brian, Paul, Webb.
Yeah.
Which one is this? This fascinating repartee. Repartee.
Well, you're decking out in all Mac stock this week, guy.
I know.
Hmm.
Which one is this? That's the left. Oh, wait, no, that's correct. Left.
What did the stock do today? I didn't even look in Mark's chart.
65, 30.
Ooh, gotta like that.
How was your Thanksgiving, Dave?
It was good. Why?
Just based on all the company you guys had.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. What?
What?
Oh shit.
Where'd that come from?
What, that little ping?
You hearing something? Or you can't hear
Oh
us?
yeah.
Voices
gotta be-
inside his head.
Thank God I got it turned off.
Oh, because it looks like we can't. You're not hearing us.
No, I can hear you. It's just I'm messing with these AirPods,
No.
and it turned on music, and all of a sudden I was hearing the bells that I'd looked for like 5 years and finally found. I don't think anyone has ever heard the uncensored version of that other than Gaz and me.
Guy,
Yes.
you should only listen to the Mac voices in your head.
What? No, I've got so much stuff chained together that sometimes when stuff just starts popping off in my ears, it's like, all right, I know it's coming from somewhere. I just don't know where.
Loop back.
It's coming from
Between
inside the house.
Loopback
Guy.
and Wavelink software, which
And
is
Farrago.
really and Farrago. Wavelink software is like really awesome. You get a stream mix and a monitor mix, and you can kind of adjust the volumes for each one.
like sound source.
Sort of, yeah. Except, hold on. I'm gonna put a picture of it in the. There it is.
Okay, 4:58. 2 minutes to showtime.
You had me going there for a second, Mark. I forgot. You're in a different time zone.
Yes.
6:50.
Probably a different weather climate too. It's been sunny and mid 70s these past couple of days.
Nice.
And you like to remind us of that too, I know.
No, I don't. I just stating what a pleasant time we've had out here. It makes me want to check to see what the temperature is there, because if it's cold and freezing, I might have to say it a couple more times.
The last time I checked, which was about 6:30, it was 37 degrees.
Okay.
The good news is the wind wasn't blowing. So the wind chill was no worse than 37.
Well,
And
Chuck,
we had snow.
I'm sure a lot of people appreciate your heroic effort. Somebody has to have the bad climate.
Oh,
Oh, and we did have we
here.
had a little bit of snow squalls this morning. Not bad, just a little something, but
Oh, I have a hard out at 6, so I've got an alarm
Okay.
set 5 too. So
okay. So just remind me if I don't remember it myself, and we'll give you a graceful exit.
okay, sure.
Let's see here.
Is there a way to put a JPEG image in the chat?
No.
Okay, well, that explains why I wasn't able to do it then. Good to know.
Yeah. I know Andrew said he was coming, and I definitely wanted him here for the one story. So
Yeah.
we may shift the order a little bit. Okay, well, my clock has struck
Yep.
the
we're
hour.
Top of the hour.
So guy is putting it back in his ears so he can hear us. So let's do this. Let's do this. In 3, wait a minute. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. It's Tuesday night. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We have some of our friends already in the chat room, and we would love to count you among them. So please come on in, throw in your comments, your thoughts, your opinions. We love to have them because we like to react to them. Tell us that you're right and we're wrong. We like that too. We do it frequently. We have more of our panelists checking in as I speak. But for right now, let's go around the room, find out who's here, and we will go from there. But before we do, I do want to make sure I don't forget this, top of the show and bottom of the show. I'm traveling next week, so there will be no MacVoices Live next week. We'll be back, regular schedule after that, but unless something radically changes, there will be no live show next week, just so you know. So with that, let's go around the room. We'll find out who's here, and then we'll get to it. First up, and I'll take my screen as it always is, Mr. David Ginsberg is first. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me as always, Chuck. Great to be here. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I'm recovered and refreshed and in the groove working now. So
Okay. Wow. That sounds like was it that bad, David, that you needed to recover from Thanksgiving?
No, actually it was good. We had a good time and great to be with family.
Yeah, definitely. Mr. Mark Fuccio is here with a background that is intriguing as always. Mark, great to have you, and I love the background.
Hello, Chuck. Yes, it's great to be here. Thanks again for the invitation. I'm sure as the show progresses, we'll get a chance to talk about the background. And I just want to pipe into David. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and happy Hanukkah for all the listeners who celebrate that holiday.
Definitely. Guy Searle has returned after a several-week absence with yet another new microphone. And he may or may not be able to hear me as I tease him about that. So, Guy, can you hear me? Apparently not, so we'll come back to Guy later. Either that or he's promoting MacStock. I'm not sure which. Yep, can't hear me. Okay. Andrew Orr has joined us also after a couple-week absence. Andrew, it's good to have you back.
Hey, good to be here. I got to say, my Wi-Fi has already been laggy. I've been seeing the warning message, so I'll try to be here.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, there's a story I'll cover first that I wanted to make sure you were here for. Last but absolutely not least, Jim Ray has joined us. Jim, welcome.
Hi, Chuck. Happy almost December. Can you hear me?
Yes. You made it through Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was quiet here.
Good. Well, it's good to have you as always.
I braved the 90-degree temperatures.
Yes.
Wow. Tough it out there, Jim. Thank you. And is Guy back with us? No, Guy is not with us. He's just staring intently off into space. So wanted to share a story tonight that is a little bit scary, a little bit terrifying, and it just shows you what can happen. And Andrew, this is right down your alley. I can only give so many details because I was not directly involved, which is a really good thing. But a friend of a family member of mine on, let's see, today is Tuesday. So Monday they got a phone call from Amazon that said that questioning a charge, and a charge that had not been made. And so he checked his account, and obviously it was nothing he had bought. So he said, okay, fine, it's not mine. And so they said, well, we're going to send you a form to fill out, to put this back on your account, because they first asked for his credit card and or his bank account information. And the good news is he didn't give them that. He would not give them that. So they sent him this, and while they were on the phone with him, he clicked it and opened it. And that was pretty much it. He had been logged into his bank because of the credit card. And according to him, I'm not quite sure how this would happen without a refresh of the page, but he said he watched them zero balance his savings and checking accounts to the tune of $150,000.
Ooh.
Right in front of his eyes. So he said, something went wrong. And they said, oh, well, you need to go to the store and get us a gift card and then we'll fix it. Well, at that point, the light bulb came on that he was being scammed. So he hung up, called his bank, told them to put a hold on the account, explained what had happened. They said, go back in and check your balance now. Guess what? Whatever he had clicked on had changed the password to his computer. So he could not get back on, and has still not been able to get back into his computer. So the good news is that the bank apparently stopped it, and the money did not actually leave his account to the point it was irretrievable. But he learned a valuable lesson.
Thank God.
And I wanted to share that because it just shows you, Amazon will not call you.
Never.
And Andrew, feel free to jump in here. There were so many things wrong with this. That, okay, Amazon's not going to call you, and they're certainly not going to send you a form to fill out. And if it is a form that they send you, it's certainly not going to be something executable, which this obviously was. And by the way, he was on a PC, so this is not a Mac situation. But it's just, and needless to say, he was in more than a little bit of a panic.
I bet.
Yeah. There's a lot of scams like this. Fortunately, I've never experienced one myself yet, but if you're in a situation like this, as far as I know, if there's something weird going on where the other person says, I accidentally sent you this money, please send it back, just don't do anything. Just tell them that that's on your end, your bank can handle that, and don't click anything. And that's about it, I think.
Yep.
I think at this point, when I just think anybody that calls is,
A scammer.
let's just go away. But we just had a call on our landline, which we usually don't answer, but my wife answered it, and they said they were from our landline phone company and they could save us money by not having long distance. And, I said, just tell them we'll call you back. And they're like, no. So I don't know what their scam was, but it was something. Just like, if somebody calls on the phone, it's automatically.
Well, basically, I think they were just trying to get a hold of the account that you had with your landline phone company. And, basically they're expecting you to go ahead and give them all of your information because, hey, they're the phone company. Why else wouldn't they be calling you if they weren't legit?
Yeah. So my assumption is just no institution is going to call.
I agree with Jim. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Any suspicious inbound phone call or anything, or actually, if it's not somebody I know and they, I just don't answer it. On general
Right.
principles, that's going to be, it's going to be a scam of some sort. And then to underline what Jim and Chuck said, just many of these institutions, they will operate by mail. They will not send out, they won't call you because,
Right.
most people don't think back to whether they actually gave them a phone number or not. But
Wait, are you telling me that all those calls I've gotten about extending my car's warranty are fake?
I hate
No,
to,
those
I
are
hate to break it to
those
you,
are
Guy,
legitimate.
Guy, do you have, is your car warranted until the year 2727?
It would
Yeah.
have to be at this point.
Yeah.
I'll give one firsthand happened to me. It'll be brief. Been working on refinancing my mortgage and got a call from the bank I'm working with, and they said, "Oh, who's your mortgage broker? What's the guy's name?" And try to start asking all this information. And I'm like, "You should know this." And I said,
Yeah.
"Why are you asking me this?" And then the guy got frustrated and hung up. So I challenged him at every
Right.
single point, and that's what you have to do. And if you do answer these calls, on a whim, I answer the not call because normally, like all you guys said, it's a phone number I don't recognize. I'm not going to answer it. Especially
Yeah,
like today, I get calls from Wyoming. I don't know anybody in Wyoming. I mean, there's places all over the country. You get these calls. I'm like Utah. I don't deal with anybody in Utah. I mean, nothing against either one of those states, but I don't do any business with anybody from those locations. So right away, yeah, ran the watch. I said decline. So just don't answer them.
I
Yeah,
got a call that-
I got a call at work for the guys that know where I work, and it would claim me to be the IRS.
Yeah.
I was like,
Got
"Oh,
that one,
really?
yeah.
Yeah, I work in security for this particular company. What's your name and who's your supervisor?" And all I heard after it was like silence for a second. Then all I heard was your father. They hung up real quick. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there are all sorts of scams out there, and I think the
really a
best
shame.
advice is trust no one.
Trust absolutely no one.
Well, and look, if you get a call like that and you do have any reason to believe it might be legitimate, just say, "Look, I will call you back, or I'll call your fraud department back." And then, whether it's your bank or Amazon or whatever, then go on the web, get the right number, call them and find out. It's simple. I mean, that way,
That's
if for any reason it should be legit, you will
Right.
be doing everything you should be.
Get an
And the people
employee
on the
number.
other-
If they're legit, they'll give you an employee number. Or
Right.
and that's exactly what happened with me. I just I was adamant to find out why this guy called me. So I called the phone number that came up in my caller ID. Sure enough, they're spoofing that phone number because it was to the
course.
bank. And I talked to a gal that was on there, and she said, "Oh no, we would never call you and ask that." And she flagged it and put it on my account and said, "Oh no, we'll make sure that that you called me, and then I'll confirm that you did not give out any information," which I did not.
The weird thing about that story is it sounds like they might have had insider information, or since it
Right,
seemed like
'cause they know
they
your name.
knew. Yeah, and they knew you were doing in the refi
Right.
process.
Well, they probably did because they, I already started as soon as my credit report got hit. I all of a sudden start getting these emails from other mortgage companies trying to ask, "Hey, you can refi this, and you could do this," and yeah, so they know, and I knew it would be the case because unfortunately, credit reports aren't private.
Yeah. I wasn't going to bring these two things up, but some of the comments here made me convince me I should.
Right.
Actually, yesterday, which just seemed weird in conjunction with the story I just told, I had a reason I had sent an email to someone else in our company in another office that I'd never talked to before. So I got a call, and it showed up on my phone as spam coming from Valencia, California. And okay, I'm not touching it, of course, spam risk.
Yeah.
About 30 seconds later, I get a voicemail, and it's this guy reaching out to me. So I called him back and I said, "Hey, you just should probably know that, you showed up as a spam risk. That's why I didn't answer." And he about had a fit. And I said, "Well, look, here's the number you came from." And he said, "Well, that's not our number." And he said, "We just got a new phone system." And I said, "Well, you may want to check into this because, if you're making, legit business calls, you're not going to get any answers because you're showing up as a spammer."
Right.
So, it's something, if you're in business that, and you do get new phone systems or whatever, you may want to make some calls to some friends and, have them report back as to what it's coming up as.
So he had left a number. That's the number you on the voicemail. That's how the number
he left a number, and I called the number he left. I didn't.
So
just
that was different than your caller ID number.
Yep, completely different. Nothing that, because he's not even in Valencia, California.
Well, a lot of times
he might have some
all
phone
these numbers
service.
go back to a trunk. They have a truncated system.
Right.
So just because it's, they're calling you from Walla Walla, Washington, but the main office is in, San Clemente, California. So all the calls go down through there and then back out.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because it just really did look like he was a total spammer.
I've gotten a couple of calls that come up on the caller ID as telemarketer.
Mhm.
Well, at least they're honest about it. I would actually answer that call. I'd be like, thank you. Thank you for being honest about it. Now, please F off, go away.
So actually you remind me today that I didn't get a phone call from my friend Spam Likely. I'm so upset.
He's a good guy, isn't he?
I like him.
He's your friend too, Jim?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the last story is that there's a certain we talk about two-factor authentication and all that, and one of the options that a certain company that I need to authenticate with that starts with an M and is headquartered in Redmond, Washington, I have to do that. Okay, so it says we will call you for an identification. And so my phone rings and it's coming from Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
Like, okay.
Yeah,
since
man.
since I hit the button and it says it's going to call me, I answered it, and it was legit. It was them, but it's like, Jamaica, really? I mean, what's wrong with this picture? So figure it out. The chat room says, Brian said in the chat room, I think it's best not to answer in the first place. I really like the feature for numbers not in contact to automatically go to voicemail. If legit, can always call them back. Absolutely, Brian. Brad makes a good point. The new phone system of my friend may have been hacked and used for overseas calls. Yep. And Brad recommends getting the No Mo Robo system to block these calls.
Yeah.
Yep.
That won't help though with spoof numbers.
So,
Right. But it'll help.
Which is what they're doing now anyway, because they don't want it to go back to
I mean,
wherever the hell they are, which is
Many-
usually some Eastern Asian country.
many of your cell carriers have, like the T-Mobile Scam Shield. I use that. I just decided to go look at it now as we're talking about this, and sure enough, today there was a phone number that says Scam Likely, and they called 6 times to try to call me.
Yeah.
So and I didn't even hear it because that worked.
So at the end of the day, I mean, Andrew, any tips you want to throw in? Because we just want folks to be safe out there and not get caught by any of these stupid things.
I have used Noma Robo in the past. That's a good app. Earlier this year, I switched to one called Robo Killer, and it has a couple of features that Noma Robo doesn't. One of them is kind of cool. It's called an answer bot. And so like all you have to do is like turn a toggle on when there are different voices. These are just robot voices. And if someone tries to call you that is not in your contact list, the answer bot will answer the phone for you and be like, this person is using Robo Killer. Please state your phone number and your purpose for calling. And if that, if their system thinks that's legit, then it will then forward to your phone number, and then you can choose to pick it up or not.
So it does it in real time. It analyzes the number and whatever the person said.
Yep.
Do they have people doing that, or
it might be people like there's a couple voices. The one I'm using, it does sound like a real human, and it doesn't sound robotic.
Well, there's actually, I mean, if you look at a lot of the YouTube videos that are out these days, and a lot of them are just pulling content off Reddit and then having these robo voices read the Reddit story. So they've gotten to the point where they can have humans, human speech through a computer that sounds like a human. And that's what a lot of these people, a lot of these YouTube channels are doing, because it's absolutely no effort for them. They just go to Reddit and pull off the weirdest crap they can find and throw it at a robo voice, and you got content.
Well, I think that's true. I know a lot of those things, and when I click on something like that, and it's one of these things, I just go back. But to Andrew's case, for a robot, assistant, it only has a finite number. Probably, you can count them on your toes and fingers of responses, and they could get an actual voice to speak that, so they don't have to worry about it sounding, canny and artificial. And then it's up to whatever they do, whatever information they provide. I would be interesting to the backroom statistics of what number vanish when challenged. 90, 95, 98, 99.999%, because I imagine that by itself is enough just to suppress a lot of junk calls.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at their website. Apparently, they keep a database of voice fingerprints.
Ooh.
So they're actually, the purpose of them
That's if a
recording.
real person is talking.
Well, not only that, but so if people, if you listen to it and go, yeah, that's spam, then that'll go into their database, and if multiple people, will be like that person's voice will be in their system as this is the voice of a spammer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that an invasion of the
Fascinating.
spammer's privacy?
That's right.
I think if you're making a call, you were probably kidding, but
Yes, I was. Thank you.
That's why I laughed.
Yeah. But that is interesting. And in some ways, it's a little frightening. But in this case, it's being used to our benefit, so I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Until they get robo answering to robocalls to robo answering, and then basically it takes 30 seconds and they get back to you anyway.
yeah, I don't like that. I'm finding it very difficult to find out what the price. I hate that. It was like, try it for free, but okay, what's the price?
Yeah, they won't tell you.
Yeah, you have to call and talk to the robot to find out.
Yeah.
And the answer is $395 per year.
Well, maybe Andrew knows.
For which one?
RoboKiller is the one you said you were using, right?
Oh, sorry, I messed that part. Lag. I think I'm paying $3 a month. I'm sure there are yearly plans too.
Let's see. I just found a Google. I asked it on Google. It says $4.99 a month or $39.99 a year.
Okay.
So, hey, try it. Just one, as always, it's one of those things that you have to decide whether it's worth it for you. But whether you use it or not, it's not going to be 100% guaranteed that you're not going to get the kind of calls my friend got, and they're not going to try to spam. And for heaven's sake, don't click on anything that you don't expect or know what it is. Nobody's going to ask you to fill out any form like that. I mean, think about that. Nobody's going to ask you to fill out a form. They're going to try to direct you to a website, and if it's a legitimate Amazon thing, then it'll be a legitimate Amazon address. And if not, then it won't. But please don't. Please don't.
Yeah. And remember, you can hover over the link and it'll show you what the actual path is.
That's true.
All right. Well, thank you guys, because I felt like that just needed to be shared. We all know that we all hear these different scams that come out, and this one, and the guy is not, he's fairly savvy. And I think he just bought right into the fact that somebody charged something for him on Amazon, and he wanted to get it corrected. So he was trying to do the right thing in his mind, and just missed the warning sign.
Happens to the best of us, and I've experienced it. I think we all have one point or another. Just got to be careful.
Yeah. Sometimes you get about 4 minutes in, and it's like, hey, this doesn't sound quite right.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there many times. Well, not so many times, a few times.
Well, the next thing on the agenda for tonight was the new business upgrade program that Apple has for Mac laptops. And Mark, I know you had some thoughts on this, so I'm going to let you jump right in, and I'm going to post something into the chat room for our YouTube friends to look at.
Okay, so this I think leaked out at the very end of last week and seemed to build and crest the wave this week. Basically, what it is Apple, in conjunction with CIT Financial, who's been a long partner of Apple, sort of reintroduced a new and upgraded business lease program. Now, I'm not quite sure how it got called a Mac trade-in or Mac trade-up program, but it seems to be a spin on a traditional business leasing program with an interesting twist. That is that if in a 90-day period Apple comes out with a newer model, you can upgrade to that at no cost. And I've seen that. Another thing I've seen reported, because I couldn't find any hard information on either Apple's or the CIT Financial site about how the program actually operates. The other version I've heard is that during the term of the lease, you can upgrade at any time. No more than 90 days apart, no more frequently than 90 days. That version I find a little bit hard to believe, but
yeah,
could be true. But it seems to me that this is just a spin on traditional business leasing. I know Apple, from my own actions with Apple Store in San Jose, Santa Clara. Their small business teams, they would, for years, they would always, offer, financing. But the basically thing is, to qualify, you have to be a business, and that's the same thing on this new program from what I discerned on the CIT site. And basically, you finance the equipment for a term, 36, 48, maybe 60 months, depending on the size of the purchase. Now, for corporations, the benefit of this is every time they go out and they buy a computer, that becomes a piece of capital equipment, and there are limitations on how much capital they can expend on that. And there's a lot of analysts on Wall Street that look at companies and what their return on invested capital is, and blah 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 blah. The difference is, by going to a lease, instead of having to hit capital on the balance sheet, it becomes a
reoccurring expense.
It becomes a recurring expense, on your income statement. So you go from capital to sort of an OPEX expense. And the CIT program was basically, 3%. So basically, you would amortize it over 33 and a third months. So I imagine that probably the deal would be for 36 months, and then the other odd 3 months are probably their profit on the deal, in addition to who knows whatever the other interest charges, et cetera, they may have on it, and other things at deal end. So to me, it just seems like this is a twist, because I imagine there may have been a certain amount of kickback, of surprise, and well, damn it, we just leased and financed all of these Intel Macs, and you came out with all these new M1 Macs, and they're so much better, and grumble. So it seems that maybe this is a program that Apple is working on in order to re-stimulate and expand the available audience if we're using its leasing program. Part two is, I think there's a lot of people and consumers who are hoping for something. And I bet you in the next couple of days, there's going to be an enormous amount of bitching and in the Apple here, that this is not what everybody wants for their personal Apple hardware subscription type of program. Anyway, having said that, I'd say this is something I think makes it easier or accommodates business. It's unclear to me exactly why they selected this time of year in order to introduce it, but it is what it is. And with that, I turn it back to anybody else in the panel.
You have a lot of people that upgrade every single time a new computer comes up. Warren Sklar. And if you're able, I mean, basically with the laptops, it's about every year and a half to 2 years that Apple is doing a relatively major upgrade on laptops. And at $75 a month, I think it was, for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, that means over the course of 2 years, you're spending $2,400, something like that, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And at the end of that, they're going to hand you a brand new spanking shiny computer. So you're going from new computer to new computer. This isn't entirely unlike what they're doing with the iPhone leasing program. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't hold on to a computer for a really long time, then yeah, this is probably not a bad deal. Plus, you know exactly how much you're going to spend on it every month.
So the question would be for Warren: is he doing this as an individual, or is he doing this for the company? As an individual, I don't think this program will help because they're going to want to. It's for business and business.
Not his plan.
Yeah, exactly. Not his plan.
But
you know,
I'll go ahead, David. I want you in.
No, I just wanted to bring it in on the business side of here. This looks like it's aiming more towards small business. So a lot of small businesses, probably this is going to be much more appealing because, you know, they don't have the capital that they can, you know, start investing, especially with Macs. I mean, everybody knows their return on investment for Macs is tremendous. I mean, and that's the main reason why a lot of these larger corporations are deciding to go with Macs, because they are getting a great ROI on them. Yeah. Me coming in on the business side of things, what I experience is we don't lease our machines, we buy them. And generally when you buy them from a manufacturer, you're going to get probably anywhere between 3 and 4 years of warranty on it. So it's going to be covered for, you know, those 4 years or 3 years, whatever you choose, that you're assured that there's going to be coverage and you'll get them repaired. Yes, technology changes, you know, but businesses are different. It all depends on the type of business it is and what types of machines they need. You know, in the case of a Mac, you know, it might be a company that's, you know, design and they have to have the latest and greatest, you know. Unfortunately, there are some companies that do have the Macs, but then they do sit on them for 3 years or 4 years. But then Chuck, we talked pre-show about, you know, the new MacBook Pro with the M1 Max processor, just incredible with the rendering with Final Cut Pro, and this is where the business has to decide: is this going to be something of value when it comes to leasing as opposed to buying? I don't see Apple trying to. From where it looks, I think it's small business. Large corporations, I don't. Very rare. I hear of any large corporations that do a mass leasing program. It just isn't. It isn't efficient, nor is it of a value to them.
Really?
I don't think so. I mean, again, that's my opinion. There might be. I mean, Mark, you may have more experience with it with large corporations that do at least.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of large corporations, it helps them with their budgeting that, you know, they have a fixed amount per month, you know, for the equipment, and it comes out and the benefit for them is the cost is most kind of the same, except it comes out of an operating budget instead of a capital budget, and that's a big deal if you're going to be buying 5,000 Macs. The other thing is, and this depends on the state you're in, is depending on the state, sometimes equipment under lease doesn't have to pay sales tax. So right away, that's a huge benefit. So these are all different factors. And again, I think there's no mystery that this has been out there, and large companies, the Fortune 1000, they're well used to financing and leasing equipment. I think this is, was it you, David, or was it Guy who said that this is something targeted at smaller businesses? And
I said that.
Yeah. Okay. And to me, it seems like, okay, you sort of the very size. If it's a single person operating a business, he or she need not be incorporated. But if it's a group of people, they will certainly, if they talked with Apple, Apple would have sort of funneled them into their business, So again, this has been out there, and again, as you were saying, you described a lot of the benefits of lease financing instead of, okay, here's a big check for $5,000 for for this new M1 Mac, M1 Max, Mac Pro. So to me, it seems like again, the new thing here is the ability. You're not locked into a specific computer. You have the ability to upgrade it under terms that aren't exactly clear yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and just going to that site too, Apple has its own the site that's in the article that brings you to Apple at work, and and then they've got their plans, and so they seems that they've had this in place for a while. It doesn't seem like it got a lot of publicity until just recently here now. Apple may be also looking at going into this business even more deeper. I mean, as much cash they've got in the bank right now, that this could be a pretty lucrative business for them. So that Mark, you probably have a better view of that, but I could see the fact that Apple may look at seeing this as a possible, money making situation, just like with services, all the rest of the services.
Yeah, I think this is a good way to dip their toe in the water, because 6 or 9 months ago, Chuck sort of had the idea of Apple subscriptions, and I did a little bit of calculating then, and there's so many unknowns about how such a program would work, and how beneficial is it to Apple versus the consumer. So trying an upgraded business lease may be a way that they can start to get some data, especially if they're really focused on the really small businesses of creative firms who do have a need, for whom time is money, and all the M1 and future processor upgrades are very important. So this is a way that it seems a kind of an Apple-esque, of do something, test it, see how it responds, and then figure out if they add more water and fertilizer, or if they just ignore it and move on to something different.
So let me drag the chat room in here, because there are some really great comments in here. Bob Beach says, I really like the upgrade program for my iPhone. I wish Apple would offer it for Macs. I agree, Bob. The one thing that I'd be just a little concerned with is that, it could be done, but you'd have to have an awful lot of different pricing models to take care of all the configurations, or just offer a limited number of configurations, small, medium, and large, or powerful, more powerful, and oh my God, powerful, or something, like that. Because there aren't a lot of configurations, but they're more on a Mac than an iPhone. Let's see. Yep. Webb says, I agree that the capital drain is something to consider, but when you go the lease route, you do give up depreciation on capitalized assets. It's a balance. Great point. Brad says he could see it as good for traveling sales force or insurance adjusters. Brian said he would think that Apple would like programs like this. It's recurring revenue, a bit more certainty of how much money is coming in on a monthly basis. And we all know why Apple likes those recurring revenue models.
Well, they all do now.
Yeah.
All the companies. I mean, that's why they're trying to push everyone to subscription services, whether it's Adobe or Microsoft or whoever.
Yeah. Brad says, and I think this is interesting, because I think there's some truth to this. A subscription for hardware is easier to get from the higher ups. It's probably easier to say it's going to cost you X number of dollars a month instead of plunk down $5,000 for that really super powerful laptop.
I agree with that.
And Brad says they avoid insurance costs this way. I'm not, and Webb challenged that, and I'm also kind of with you, Webb. I'm not quite sure. It would depend on the terms of the lease as to who owns this thing, and what you have to do, or what happens if you abuse it. A lot of really, really good comments there. And by the way, our friend Frank Petrie is in the chat room. Frank, good to see you there. We miss you.
Hey, Frank.
Great to see you, Frank.
Everybody wave to Frank. Yeah.
Hey, Frank.
Oh, ow.
Yeah.
I hurt myself.
But it was for Frank.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
I can't drink water and wave at the same time. It's just impossible.
Well, please don't try. You'll short circuit your machine.
I
don't know. I think it's interesting. This is just one more time that Apple seems to be taking a bit more of a run at businesses, trying to do something that businesses want. So,
well, they kind of have to. I was talking about this with Gaz, And, Apple's percentages for a single company are very high in almost all the markets that they're in, but they've been relatively stagnant for a while. They don't, I mean, they'll move up or down a couple of, maybe a percentage point or two, but it's always within that same range every single time. So I think if they want to grow the Mac business, or they want to grow the iOS business, or they want to grow the iPad business, or whatever it is, the next part it is that they want to grow, that they have to start thinking a little bit differently and trying to jump ahead of what the competition is doing in other ways than just having a better operating system or better hardware.
Can't disagree, Guy. I feel like they've made some changes. There've been some things over the years that Apple's preparing for a big move like this. But what will it take to actually make it happen?
Yeah. I'm not really in this area, but some of you might be. Like, is this really a unique offering? I gotta think that other, the Dells, HPs of the world probably have programs like this.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just, checking off a box. And I'm going to disagree. I think, making, processors that are twice as powerful as the competition is the way to, not that they shouldn't do these things. These are just, a professional company, ticking off. Yeah. Do we have financing? Yes. That's just table stakes.
Well, I
Jim,
think again, what's different here is, to the extent, that, if a company wanted to buy, pick a number, 250 Macs, and then finance them, the more friction Apple removes by making it easy, by having a good relationship and a good program with an established partner, that makes it that much easy, to get the sale for those 250 Macs. And that's what I think this thing is doing. As I said, business lease financing is not new. The thing here that seems to be a unique twist that, yes, although Jim, Dell and HP do have, financing partners, and then there is a Dell Finance organization. I'm not sure about HP. I think what's new here is the ability to return and upgrade, the Mac in case something newer and faster and sexier comes out. So, I think I think that's really the unique thing here, and I think it speaks to it because it seems in terms of processor architecture, what Apple's done a year ago with M1, and then this year with their variants, they're years ahead of what's going on in the PC space. So again, I think this is probably, maybe it's time this time of year, just thinking people would hear it on holiday break, etc. But I think it's not sufficient just to make a machine that's twice as fast. They have to do all sorts of other things that make it easier to buy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's what this announcement is.
I'm not saying
And
they
to make
shouldn't
people
have
want
done
to
it or
buy
that
it.
it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, to really move market share, this is just, sort of like,
Yeah.
we need to have a bank account. We need to, there's things, I guess I would sort of wonder why wasn't this done a long time ago, maybe. Although, as you say, the aspect, it's almost like, oh, if you buy a car and they come out with a new car within 90 days, you can't swap cars. But what you were saying at the beginning is it's not clear yet what the rules are for, can you change any, over and over, or only in the first 90 days?
And
We'll
I'm not
learn more in the fullness of time.
Yeah.
And I'm Mark. I respectfully disagree just a little bit. I think that the power of the M1 chip is appealing to all of us, and should be appealing to a lot of people in business. And I'm afraid that there aren't enough tech savvy people there to appreciate what the power of an M1 could do for the. I don't want to insult anybody, but let's call it a line level employee. I think what's almost more important is the price point of those M1s. That there's a lot of power at that price point for the heirs, and those that might sway someone to look beyond the fact that the Microsoft is selling a Surface for this much, and I can get a MacBook for this. And oh, by the way, the chip is monstrously fast.
So, Chuck,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it might. The price is the important thing. The power might not be at a certain level, for certain things.
yeah. So
application.
I think they're both important. I don't know how much you can really separate them and pull them apart. Price is certainly important. Speed is very visceral reaction that makes people want to have the thing. And I think maybe M1 blah blah blah, all its architecture and transistors and SSD and blah 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 for $1,000, compared to some of the junky machines out there from companies like Dell and HP, because Jim mentioned them.
Well, those are the bigger players, right? Dell, HP, and Lenovo.
They're slow because they're really cheap and they have slow mechanical drives in them. I think the experiential difference is black and white. So again, I think these are all factors that are in Apple's favor of making people want it. And I think to underscore one of Jim's points is Apple has not really over aggressively courted the enterprise. They've done a lot to make their machines acceptable and such that enterprise and enterprise employees want to buy them. And that's a very subtle sort of difference. But they're doing it in a way that their gear is much more acceptable to enterprise without having to become a slave to enterprise and IT buying cycles that companies like Microsoft and Dell and other PC makers are.
But you still have to get the apps that people use every day on the Mac, and that's been the big holdup on getting people to switch from Windows to a Mac.
So
unless they're working entirely on the web, if they're only working on web apps, then it doesn't.
What apps are you talking about, Guy? It's 2021.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
There's people have all kinds of apps out there that will only work on Windows or will only work on an Intel machine, and whether or not there are good enough replacements for those apps on the Mac, you have to make the case that a Mac is going to be the machine that you can use for everything. And I think a lot of people don't buy a Mac because they don't believe that's necessarily true, whether it is or not.
Well, I think the counter, what I would counter to that was, until a year ago, that's exactly what Macs were. An Intel Mac could run anything. It could run, you could literally boot camp Windows, or you could run Parallels or VMware Fusion. So, you had, if you wanted to run anything, the Mac was the computer to buy. And,
but it didn't matter because people had stopped using it. They'd stopped. They had if they had a lot of Windows programs that they were using exclusively, trying to set up boot camp and keep a Windows environment working on the same computer as a Mac environment is a royal pain in the ass.
I think for most
Windows
people,
machine up by itself is a royal pain in the ass.
Parallels or VMware is, for the most part, the way to do that, and except maybe for games. But the point was, not that many people were doing it to the point where, Apple felt fine with, you know what, we're not going to have that Rosetta Stone anymore, and there's hardly been any fuss about it.
Because not many people were doing it,
right? So because I think you're making the point that Dave and I are making, that there's just not that much Windows. There's so much stuff that's it's web, and part of what's killed that is mobile. So much stuff is for phone and iPad. So things are not Windows only anymore. Nobody's going to make a new Windows only app.
I'm not talking
let me ask you a question.
I'm talking
one
about
at a time.
perception.
One at a time, guys. One at a time.
Because I stipulate what you're saying is true for some users. The question is, are they 80% of the base out there, or 50%, or 8%? So that's the key question, right?
No, perception for a lot of people is reality. So if they feel that they won't be able to use the current applications that they're using on a Dell or an HP or a Lenovo or whatever, then they're not going to get a Mac. So you have to get the developers to make the kinds of programs that these people think that they need or that they want that aren't already there, and convince them that the Mac is a viable alternative.
But why are you talking about?
It has nothing. This isn't about reality. This is about perception. And for a lot of people, Windows is what they've always used. So you have to.
Could you name such a program? Could you name one or two?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the program is. This isn't about reality.
Fez does, and I was and with my experience, what I deal with on a day-to-day basis, companies are going to look at Macs as possibilities of being full-time devices. You got to get the companies to adapt to the applications that they utilize, whether it's back end or front end, that are Mac friendly. And unfortunately, there are businesses out there that still don't have those applications. You know, a lot of companies have homegrown applications. They have internal applications. They have but more and more they're coming to realize that the Mac can easily adapt to it, because the Mac has done a much better job over the years being able to adapt to those applications. So, I mean, I can see companies there that I have always given the example of IBM and SAP and Walmart and all them all now have the options of, and there's 150,000 Macs out there, and among all those companies I just mentioned, and if they didn't have the accessibility of the systems they need to have access to on a Mac, then they wouldn't be using them. So it really is changing. And the perception of Macs with the return on investment, as well as the application support that's needed to get to what it needs to get to, especially a lot of these apps are web-based. If they're web-based, no problem. They can get out to whatever they need to get to.
Yeah, I think, most internal development at companies, maybe even for the last decade, has been for web platforms.
Right.
Nobody's writing a new internal Windows app in 2021, or almost no one. They're all moving, to the web.
And they're all moving to things like, CRM was always is big for a lot of companies for managing Salesforce. I mean, Salesforce is Mac friendly. Microsoft is getting better with CRM and making it more Mac friendly. You got to get to the newer versions and get companies to adopt that. But those are the systems those are the systems that they're going to have to get better to allow Macs to work. But they have gotten better.
Yeah, look at Microsoft's subscription program, for example.
Right.
That's a fantastic deal for Mac users.
So I guess the one thing I'm looking at it that I don't feel like there are that many. Now, I asked the chat room if they have anything that is a Windows only app that would sway them on a buying decision. And Brad points out AutoCAD and related CAD programs. There are no add-ons for AutoCAD on the Mac, and Microsoft Access.
Access is the other one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are two legitimate ones, and of course, plenty of games. But business.
But you got Panorama. They shouldn't be using Access. They should be using Panorama.
Well, exactly. I mean, that goes without saying, but that's a whole nother show. But I don't think Apple needs to capture be the answer to everybody. I mean, there are plenty of things that, okay, if you need AutoCAD, then you need to buy an AutoCAD workstation and spec it out and run it. But if you have something that is, even Access, if in the vast MacVoices, we talked about the virtualization question and what's going to happen here in the next 6-8 months.
Yep.
So if you really have a need for Access, if you're spending all your time in Access, then buy a PC. If you're spending a little bit of time in Access, then buy a cheap PC and hook a big monitor to it and then do what you need to do. But buy the machine.
Well, if you're running your business on Access, which is, probably, that's what people are, if they're using it, they're not, they're using it. They've developed apps in it and they're invested in it.
But you're stuck with it too.
And you're stuck with it. Well, and that's the thing about the database market in particular, is it's not very fungible, which, like for me is good and bad. So it's hard to get people to switch databases because, people take it and then they essentially build, their own complicated applications. and so it's very difficult to move to a different database.
You got FileMaker in the same boat. I mean, but FileMaker works in both
Well,
PC and
any
Mac.
database, whether it's, but
those, Jim, am I fair in saying those are pretty much almost custom applications that with FileMaker and Access on the back end?
Right. People make custom applications, so then they're stuck. So if somebody's built a custom application to run their business in Access, they're probably not going to look at an M1 Macintosh system, because that means reworking their entire back end. But I don't know how many people are doing that at this point. That goes back to Mark's question. Yeah, even like, I kind of hang around a little bit with the local FileMaker developers group, and they complain about how nobody respects FileMaker and it's such a tiny little thing. And, SQL is, sort of the big gorilla in that space, and that's basically cross-platform.
Yep. Bob, Jim, maybe you can address this. This is a dangerous question, but is Microsoft Access a bad app? Bad? I don't know that.
I've heard very few people like it. I think it's not an app that, in 25 years, I've only heard of maybe 2 people say, "Oh, I really like it," and I've heard a lot of people say they didn't like it. And actually, like over the last decade, I hardly ever hear about it.
Yeah, I've had some run-ins with it, and does it do what you want it to? Yes. Is it easy to use? Absolutely not. It's a monstrous learning curve. At least it was for me. Whereas something like FileMaker, there's still a learning curve, but I could make it do what I wanted to. Maybe not as pretty as I wanted to, but I could make it do what I wanted to.
So I think Access is probably mostly legacy apps that were built 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago.
And they move up to SQL.
And that's another aspect of the database market, is that it's very, people with my product, they're like, they're complaining because, we have a new version and some things that they wrote 30 years ago have to change. And they're like, I'm still using this database I started working on 30 years ago, and I don't want to learn anything new. I want it to work exactly the same as it did in 1992. So you don't get that with a word processor or.
Well, yeah, you still get it with a word processor, just not as much.
Well, how many people are working with a 30-year-old document in Word? The same document.
Well, okay. That's a different way to look at it. That's a good point, because I know plenty of people that hate every time Microsoft or anybody else changes anything. Hey, Mark Fuccio has a heart out at the top of the hour. So Mark, we're going to say thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. You have next week off, so enjoy it. And where can folks find you?
Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all lowercase, one word. And with that, this was a great, fascinating conversation, and I look forward to hearing part 2 in my absence. So with that, back to you, Chuck, and goodbye, panel, and good night, listeners. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Take care, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Andrew, you've been awfully quiet through this whole discussion. Do you have any thoughts? Because you come at it from a bit of a different angle.
I just really don't have a lot of experience in enterprise stuff or databases, so I didn't really have a comment.
Okay, that's fair. So the chat room has had plenty of comments, but let's see. Webb points out that Access is sometimes used as a front end to a SQL database. Let's see. Webb, he also points out it comes with Office, something I didn't even realize because I'm not running a PC. Brad says Microsoft pushes it.
Yeah, Access does comes with Office. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. It must be good enough. Oh, Bob says it must be good enough, else it would be irrational to continue using it. Well, maybe so, but
Rationality. PC using.
It comes with Office. And there's a certain segment out there that I think that there's some people in the world that are surprised when they find out that they can buy software. They think Microsoft Office is it, and you'll see people like, torturing, say, Excel into doing things that, it's like, dude,
It was never intended.
why don't you get a database, or what, in fact, if it's, so, but they're just like, I thought that was all I could buy. And that's a big difference between the Mac side and the Windows. So, I had a Windows version of Panorama for about 15 years, and that was something I really fought on the Windows side. So it seemed like Windows people just don't buy software, and a lot of them aren't even aware that that is something they can do. On the Mac side, there's a lot more people that are actually actively looking for software, and when they come up with some task, they're like, oh, maybe I can find some software to do this. A big chunk of the Windows market, it doesn't even occur to them that they might be able to find something, or they wouldn't know where to look. And notice there's no PC voices. We've got Mac Update. We used to have version tracker. There's nothing like that for Windows. So, and the Mac market has gotten more like that. Like there's a certain component of people, like people watching the show, that are very active and involved in the software and add-on market. But there's a lot of newer, people that have jumped on the Mac bandwagon in the last 10 years that, again, they have no idea that, they just use like Mail and Safari and, maybe Pages and, the stuff that comes with it, and that's it. And never buy anything.
Right.
I think an interesting point about Access is that Microsoft never did port it to the Mac. Like they don't seem to think it's worth it. They've put a lot of investment into the other Office apps, Word and Excel, and Outlook, but Access, they don't seem to think that's worth bothering for whatever reason.
Brad in the chat room says, I've always said Mac users are smarter than Windows users. I'd like to believe that, Brad, but I don't know that it's true, but I know that I've long held that Mac users do more with their machines, sort of along the lines with what Jim said, because they explore a little more. They go
Mac
out and
users are
enthusiastic.
more enthusiastic about their machines. Windows users are like, yeah, that's the thing I use at my job. And, I'm not putting any extra effort into doing my job better, just like they don't think about their pencil or their stapler. They don't think about their PC either.
Well, but that's, I think that's changing, because we had a story a few weeks ago. It seems like a few weeks ago, may have been a little longer, about a 75, 80%, somewhere in that range, said they would be willing to take less pay to choose the machine they use, to choose their device. Now, we can take that as being Mac people, but at the end of the day, what Windows, Mac, iPhone, iPad, whatever, or Surface, or
who did they survey?
Boy, I'd have to go back and look it up, Jim. I really don't remember.
I mean,
but
my guess is they found people that were enthusiasts.
What-
to
we-
even
well-
to even be knowing that this. I don't think they went out into, random companies and conducted a really random survey, because then they hit a bunch of people that are like, "Are you crazy? I could care less." When can I go get a drink?
Weren't
Yeah,
they
my-
at the
my-
2019 Mac stock?
Sorry, guys, say again.
I'm kidding.
He's saying that's where the
Oh.
survey was at Mac stock.
Yeah.
No, there was. I don't hold me to it. I'll have to go back and try to find it. But I think that it was. These were IT people or IT oriented people, and so and naturally we interpret it as, well, yes, of course they'd want a Mac. Well, not necessarily, but the fact that they care enough about that any segment of the population, the working population, cares enough to say they would take less money in order to use the device that they want and are comfortable with, I think says something about the awareness of some of this. And some of that's being driven by the iPhone, the iPad, because people, want to do things with their phone now, especially the younger generation. They want to operate a whole lot more on their phone than they do on a laptop or on a big screen like we all have in front of us. Well, some of us have in front of them.
Well, I think to a large extent also, Mac users are people that have picked their platform one way or the other, and Windows users or somebody else has picked it for them. That's the other thing about selling software to Windows users is most of the people on Windows that are using software, they didn't pick it. It's something that was just, the IT department handed to them and said, you will use it. So you need to sell a different way. Like I kind of know how to sell to individuals. I'm not very good at selling to an IT department. That's, that's a whole different kind of a thing. And on Windows, you tend to have, well, we've got a fleet of 1,000 Windows machines and everybody's going to use this same thing that's handed down on high. And that does happen on the Mac some, but not as much.
Brian in the chat room says, I think that in general, an Apple user sees their machine as an extension of their passion, gets them to make what is in their head a reality. Okay. I don't disagree with that. I don't, and I think Windows, there are Windows users out there that, have that same passion and the same usefulness.
They definitely are.
Yeah. We just hang around with Mac people. So one other thing I wanted to touch on tonight before we get out of here, and I don't know if it's a big thing or not, and that is Jack Dorsey stepping down as CEO of Twitter. It seemed to be relatively hot news today as we record this in the tech world. I'm curious to see what you all think. Do you think this will make Twitter better, worse? We don't know.
I think he's trying to duck and cover that. There's a shift in perception for social media, and I think he's decided he's going to cash out get out while the getting's good. That he's done pretty much everything he can do as far as Twitter goes, and so now it's time to go live on a private island in the South Pacific, or find something else to do.
Agreed.
I have a friend that a developer that recently took a job at Twitter. He's been there about 6 months, and he posted today that apparently this is the third company that he has joined that within a year the founder has left. So somebody replied to him and like, okay, time for you to go apply to Facebook.
Yeah, Andrew, thoughts on Mr. Dorsey stepping down?
I can see him maybe calling it when it comes to social media. My opinion is he could use this free time to spend more of his efforts at something like Square, because one thing that I know is that Square is getting into the cryptocurrency space, I think, and Twitter, like, I think there has been some announcements in the past where they wanted to move towards the goal of maybe decentralization using maybe a blockchain or something adjacent to it. So maybe that was his own personal thing at Twitter, and maybe he's just trying to, I don't know, focus his efforts on that same subject of cryptocurrency elsewhere.
David? Yeah, you're muted, David.
Sorry about that. I kind of agree with what Guy was saying. I mean, I think that it's cut his losses and he, not his losses, but generally just getting away from where the direction social media is going and right off into the sunset. I mean, there's just been so many founders of many companies have just decided to do that just because they just didn't want to just deal with it anymore. And I kind of see it that way.
I guess my initial reaction was this might be a good thing. It feels to me, and you're going to ask me for specific examples, and I'm not going to be able to give them, but over Twitter's life, it feels like there have been things that came up that the users really were kind of pushing for, and for whatever reason, Dorsey didn't want to implement them. Now, some of them would have been unrealistic, but as I recall, there was a lot of pushback. And Dorsey was very hesitant to expand the number of characters allowed on Twitter.
Right.
And and it's not like they suddenly started letting people post paragraphs, but it just, and I don't even remember, was it 147 was the old limit?
It was 140. It was the
140.
same as SMS.
Okay, so 140, and that was, I mean, you had to sometimes use some really weird abbreviations to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
Now you can put things in a little more English and and a few less abbreviations and have it be readable, but it's still not obnoxious, not like some other social networks we can name. So, and that's just one
256.
example. Yeah, 256 now.
That's
But-
280.
Or is it 280?
Not 280. Okay.
Yeah, they
Okay,
doubled
280
Twice 140.
twice 140. Okay, so, and I think there's some other things that if you at somebody, that doesn't count, or URLs
Well, it counts as
don't
one
count.
character, I think.
Yeah. So, but it made it, at least from my standpoint, I thought it made it a lot more useful and a lot more friendly. So that was one I remember he pushed back on, and there've been some other things that people, thought they wanted or said they wanted, and it's like, no, we have to keep Twitter pure. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know. I
we
think it's
don't we don't really know how much Jack Dorsey was the driver of those things. Presumably a fair amount. There was an announcement today, which I seen people linking with this Dorsey leaving. I don't know if that's true. It might just be a coincidence, but it is a day after he left. And today, Twitter announced that you will no longer be able to post photos or video of private individuals without their permission.
How
how
will
are they
they?
going to enforce that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have no idea, but that they, maybe if somebody sees it, they could request a takedown.
Private
So
individuals? What do they mean by that?
And in other words, like basically it'd be the same rules as like for a commercial use that, if I take somebody's picture on the street, I'm not allowed to post it on Twitter
Huh.
unless I have their permission.
Wow.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I was going to say, why would you ever set anybody's expectation out like that? I missed that completely, Jim.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know. The chat room, Webb says I think he just wanted to do something else. The Founders Blues. Frank points out, leave while you're on the top. Maybe he's getting out before the world politics leans in.
That's a good
and-
point there too.
Yeah, Webb says coincidental timing.
Yeah,
So-
you could just have, like, I'm tired of this, and why, you kind of wonder at some of these people, like, what, mountain are they trying to climb?
Well, I think they're trying to be more relevant. I mean, I'm curious. I personally, I don't mind being the first one to say it. I personally prefer Twitter over Facebook. But
No,
unfortunately-
I mean Jack Dorsey, the person, like maybe he's like, you know what, I could, I want to spend more time with my family, or, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Not, I don't need to be twice as rich or 100 times as rich, or, and I don't need to worry whether Donald Trump is mad at me or, any of that.
Yeah.
Well, but okay, so but I'm interested in your thoughts on what hill does Twitter want to climb? Do they?
Well, we
'Cause
don't
I-
even
I-
know who's going to run it now. I mean, we've got a person, but what do we know about them? Is that really a long-term, who's on the board of Twitter? I don't know.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Well, I assume it's public information, but I don't know anything about who those people are, or, so.
Who
I guess
are these people?
Dorsey has always just been such a powerful force. I mean,
Right.
like Zuckerberg is with Facebook,
Or Elon
And-
Musk,
or Elon Musk, and so
Steve
whether
Jobs.
how much he has really controlled or directed the company, but he's always been the one that's been vocal about saying he was for or against different things, and seemed to have some kind of vision for Twitter. And so now, if he's stepping aside. I did see he's going to continue to serve out his term on the board, so he's not going to be 100% gone. But how much influence he will have left at that point is anyone's guess.
Yeah, I think he said in his letter, the rest of his term is until May, I think, and he'll stay for the remainder of it just to help the transition, and then he's off, who knows where else.
Sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Brad brings up something interesting. He said maybe Twitter has matured and he prefers the excitement of a small startup.
Yeah, possible.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure Square is exactly a small startup.
No, Square's big.
I'm still wondering about Twitter being mature.
Yeah, I was gonna agree with Guy on that.
I mean, they've added some more features like Twitter Blue, the per pay service where you can edit your tweets and that kind of stuff, and then now having the live chat sessions that you see a lot of people are doing now. So they really have expanded a couple of things on there since its inception.
And this sort of takes us back to the business thing, but I would think that Twitter Blue, if you're a company, right, and you choose to use Twitter as a main method of communicating with your customers or clients or whatever, the ability to edit your tweets would be amazing.
Right.
Would be
it certainly
absolutely
gives you a lot
worth
more control over your message.
$3.
So that seems like a no-brainer, to be able to do that if you're using it consistently. I'm not sure I would care because I would just go back and delete my tweet and start over. But right, companies, that's not quite cool. And news outlets, that's not quite cool. So
yeah, especially if there's a mistake and someone catches it right away and they make sure they can do a screenshot of it so they can prove
that's just it.
That you screwed up.
There are so many of the more controversial Twitter accounts where something pops up and immediately you have 10 to 100 people that already have a screenshot of it. So in case you decide you're going to get rid of it, it's like, oh no, here it is. It's right here. You can't run from this. It's like, dude, I spelled their THEIR instead of THERE. So what?
Yeah, couldn't the screenshot be faked really easily? I mean, that doesn't seem like
sure, but it doesn't matter. It's social media. So what's real and what's not real? It doesn't, back to perception is reality.
Right.
And people will decide to believe whatever the hell it is they want to believe based on their own beliefs. Twitter, there is so much social media that is just such an echo chamber that you only follow the people that you agree with. You're not getting anything new because you've decided that those people are wrong or evil. So, it's like, why, just go and talk to yourself in the mirror rather than, putting up another post on Facebook or something new on Twitter, because it's going to have the same impact as far as your life goes.
Right.
Well, I don't hang out with people that I wildly disagree with in real life either.
The difference, I think the difference is that the internet was supposed to be the way that all of the disparate voices can come together and be heard. And instead we've all seemed to split up into our own little tribes. And it's just seems like it's so far past what the promise of the internet was, and social media as well as mainstream media have a lot to do with that. And it's too bad because the promise was there and now it's pretty much gone.
And here I thought the promise of the internet was phishing and spam.
And cat videos.
Yeah, cat videos.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting to see if this makes a difference. I mean, maybe it won't make any difference at all. One thing though, I did want to ask, does anybody have any experience with Twitter Blue? And where I'm going with that is, if I misspelled there, like Guy suggested, does it give any kind of edit trail, or is it just flat out that it corrects it and you move on? I don't know.
Probably just lets you correct it, and that's and again, if someone's already taken a screenshot of it, it doesn't matter. It's already there. So you can't permanently delete it anyway.
No, can't permanently delete it, but
Correct.
it would
Or
be
even,
indicated.
you can't
that
even correct it
there's-
without people still being able to hold it up and say, well, that's not what you said here.
Yeah.
Well, you could
No.
just say they're lying.
Yeah.
That's always worked.
Well, but if people want to, smear you with a lie, they don't need your cooperation to make a bogus tweet.
Exactly. That's Twitter. That's Twitter
No.
and Facebook and social media in a nutshell.
No, I'm just happy I don't have that many followers and nobody is screenshotting my
Are you sure?
my tweets.
Are you really sure?
Well, if they, I know I don't have that many followers, and if they're screenshotting my tweets, they're not publicizing them. Or I don't know, maybe I wish they would, so I could get more followers.
There you go.
He with the
Hey,
most followers.
Go
wins.
follow ProView Jim. Look, he says these dumb things on the internet. That's like that XKCD.
No, I tried
There's
that.
something wrong on the internet.
Well, but Jim, it's interesting that you look at it that way. I mean, if you want more followers, start posting stupid things, and you'll probably
That's
get them.
right.
My honest self started with I have enough. I have like 360. That's enough.
Yeah,
And I
but
think
mean,
like, well, people have tens of thousands. I'm like, that must be awful.
well,
You have
but
that
I
many
think,
people watching every single thing
Yeah.
you do.
Right.
Yeah. but I'd like
Ask
to
how
think
that's
that
worked out for William Shatner.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd like to think that
he probably
that
doesn't care.
yeah, but I'd
Oh,
like to
he
think
cares.
that everybody on this panel is intelligent enough not to post some of the stupid stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't know about
Well,
Guy, but
almost everybody.
Yeah, almost everyone.
But I mean, because some of the stuff I see people post, and it's like, did you even take a second? I mean, I would think a feature that I would add to Blue would be the ability to withdraw a tweet, or delay a tweet for 30 seconds, like some of the email programs do.
I had that.
So that
Well, you can do that now.
can you?
Just don't hit the submit button.
Oh,
Just
thanks, guy. Yeah.
well, write the tweet and then just kind of sit on it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
you could. It would probably be relatively easy to use like MS Access and create a database to where you click that button and you got 60 seconds before it goes off into the wild.
Andrew?
I haven't tested Twitter Blue, but I thought that was part of the feature. Like you could edit a tweet within 30 seconds or something.
Okay. Good. Well, that to me would be useful.
What says undo tweet?
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Sorry, David.
It says undo tweet. So you can.
I think it is for a limited time, and they do it by delaying it. You guys know about there's a discussion board called Discourse,
Sure.
and they do something sort of like that. You can make a post, and people can subscribe by email. But one thing they do is they delay the emails by 10 minutes. So if you edit it within 10 minutes, then that edit will go into the email. You can edit it anytime you want, but the email version is frozen after 10 minutes. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it doesn't even give a specific time as how much time you have. It says typo, forget to tag someone, give yourself time to preview and make changes to tweets before it goes live. So I don't know what the time frame is, but you obviously can't do that.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you, David. All right. So there's another reason to buy Twitter Blue is if you think you're going to tweet something stupid, at least you have a chance of
You got a little fail safe there.
saving yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you. It's been an interesting discussion. We really did get into the business thing a lot more than I thought we would. But I hope we've made some people think and ask some. Hopefully, they'll be asking some questions. Want to go around the room and let everybody know where they can be found, which is always important. I'll switch it up this time and go in reverse. That puts Jim Ray up first. Jim, well, where can people find you if you want to be found?
Well, there's been all this discussion about Panorama this week, unusually, so you can find that and me at provue.com, PROVUE. And then if you want to join my legions of Twitter followers, ProView Jim on Twitter, at ProView Jim.
Great. Please go follow Jim and let him, and then tweet at him and let him know you're following him, and just bury his Twitter feed, please.
No, don't do that.
Thank you, Jim. Andrew, how about you? Where can folks find you?
So speaking of Twitter, my username is @AndrewOrNot. And then you can find me writing about Apple, privacy, security, cryptocurrencies, I don't know, a whole wide range of stuff, and occasionally on a podcast at macobserver.com.
Great. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Mr. Searle, where should you be found?
Oh, I should be stopped. I should literally be stopped from tweeting again. But if you want to see what silly things I'm going to put on Twitter, I have two different accounts. I have Mac Parrot as well as VertShark. VertShark.com is the website for all the odds and vids, and VertShark is the YouTube channel where you can find all the vids. Let's see. MyMac.com is the typical podcast that I do with Gaz, and Guy's Daily Drive, where I sit in a car and talk at you live, even though I shouldn't.
I've witnessed it a few times.
I shouldn't, but I do.
So, David, right after the show, let you and I set up a GoFundMe page so we can buy Guy Twitter Blue, because he really needs it.
He does.
Yeah, makes sense.
Stop me before I tweet again.
Yeah. Yes, please. David, thank you for being here as always. We really appreciate you showing up every week. Where can folks connect with you?
They can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Actually, Mr. Searle is going to be on the show this week. You also can find me on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays. And you can find my YouTube page at youtube.com/DaveG65. And I am on Twitter, and you can follow me at DaveG65. Come on, let's have at it. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We'd love to have you join us, but please don't try to join us next week, which is December 7th, because we won't be here. I'm doing some traveling, so there will be no show next week, but the 14th is the following Tuesday, and we will definitely be here then. So tell your smart assistant right now to remind you December 14th, and I could do it for you, but that's not going to work out well. So you do it. You tell it to remind you December 14th to join us on Mac Voices Live. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Thank you, gentlemen.
Just set up an MS Access database, and you just go out to everybody.
Hey, it worked. I've got 7 notifications on Twitter.
That's 7 more than you've ever had, right, Jim?
Yeah, Mac Parrot and VertShark, jump on that bandwagon. Oh, that's funny. I don't even know how many people I do have following me. How do I find that out?
Just go to your profile.
Yeah, well, I usually use TweetDeck.
Oh.
I don't know where it is on TweetDeck.
What do you want to know?
How many
How many
followers Guy
followers
has?
I have.
Which one? VertShark or Mac Parrot?
Mac Parrot.
Wow. Hey, Guy, I didn't know it was possible to have negative followers. That's interesting.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Never seen
That's
that
just-
before.
You have
That's
negative,
nuts.
you have negative followers?
Oh, here we go.
663.
Yeah, I follow 618 people, and I have 663 followers. Those poor people. to see the nonsense. I actually don't even really use Twitter that much.
35 VertShark followers.
Yeah. I don't push. I mean, I talk about it and all the various things that I do, but I don't really do much with it to other than to just piss some people off. So, and the people I piss off aren't likely to follow me anyway.
Another follower. So at least I got one. I'm at
Oh, for
783.
Shark?
No, for me.
Yay! Oh. Yeah, come on, people that are watching this, do that follow thing.
A
Hey,
lot of times
Mike,
that happens
Potter
is-
finally published his interview of me.
Where's that? On YouTube?
Yeah, I guess Mac Stock Stories.
Nice.
I'll have to go look and see what I said. It was like last
You
May.
don't remember?
It was like last
That
May.
happens to me all the time.
It was, or maybe it was April or May. It was a long time ago. I thought he was going to put him out before Mac Stock, but
He did for Frank when Frank did his.
Frank's came out, and then no others came out, and I was like, huh, that's weird. So yeah, somebody, right before I came on here, somebody had a notification on Twitter that somebody was like, "Oh, I really like the interview with Jim Ray," and I'm like, "Oh, I guess that means it's posted somewhere."
Yeah, Mike
So-
interviewed me once.
All right, he just 3 hours ago. He just posted it. Wow, hour and 16 minutes. It must have been a good conversation. Oof.
I thought it was good.
Impressive.
I enjoyed it. I'm curious to go back and see. Like I said, see what I said.
Now
But we have
Jim?
had Mike on a number of occasions, and
Yeah.
oddly enough, what's his name from Groundhog Day?
Bill Murray.
No, I wish. I would love to have Bill. I would love to talk to Bill Murray.
Ned Ryerson.
Yeah, Ned Ryerson, Stephen Tobolowsky,
He
who was a
on
really super nice guy and has a great podcast, by the way,
about what?
about him growing up Jewish in East Texas, going to SMU, taking as a being in acting school, doing the Hollywood lifestyle. I mean, he's been in like everything. He's got like one of the most extensive resumes on IMDb, I think, than anyone's ever had. But really, at the end of the day, he's just a super nice guy.
And it was a few years ago now.
So
Yeah,
it
it's been a
wasn't.
couple years.
It wasn't acting.
Sorry,
It wasn't acting.
what wasn't acting?
He just is a super nice guy.
He is a super nice guy. But he's got a podcast, Tobolowsky Files, and David Chen from oh darn it, it's a big media group helps him put it on, and it's such a great podcast for if you like stories, because he tells them so well. So if you're anyone who, I don't know who else is listening at this point, if you're looking for something to listen to for long drives, he's got like 90 episodes of all these crazy stories, and it's fantastic podcast. I wish I could tell stories like that that were like true.
Yeah.
I guess Mike interviewed me because of MacVoices. He saw me on here, and then he reached out and invited me.
Jim, you should I'm dead serious about this. You should definitely tweet that, about that.
I will.
So
But
what's your legions
I
of followers?
just
Yeah.
found out literally like 5 minutes before this show started, and I didn't know where it was. So I said, oh, that's, somebody said, I liked your interview. And I said, oh, well, that's great. I'll have to look for it. So they replied to me with the YouTube link. So, so now I know where it is. So I know what to tweet. And I definitely will tweet that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to listening to it.
I'll tweet it too.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody tweet and ask all their followers to follow Jim.
Yeah. What's what would that be under? Jim's interview. I'll just put it. That'll be my search term. Jim's
Oh, it's apparently Mac Stock Stories.
Mac Stock Stories. Yeah.
There
on
it
YouTube.
is.
Here to the chat.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Interviews like that, because I'm just reading the description. Obviously, I can't listen to it right now, but interviews like that are pretty much evergreen. They're not going to go out of style.
Holy shit! I've got 2 more notifications.
See?
See, the power of MacVoices.
Power of live television.
Yes. If you follow Jim Ray right now, you will get a set of Ginsu knives.
Oh, well, let's see. The guy that liked my interview followed me, and Dave retweeted.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I didn't retweet. I retweeted. I tweeted with the link.
Oh, you tweeted. He tweeted that. You tweeted that it's a great interview, but you don't really know that. It might suck.
What's your Twitter handle there, Jim?
ProView Jim. ProVuejim.
Yeah, start following him, guy.
Rovi. I'm going to.
So it's.
Yeah, but see, Jim, you're not following me, so you got to follow me.
I am following you. I went to check that because I was like,
It
I
doesn't
don't
say you are.
I never see tweets from you. So I went and looked up Dave G65 and it says you follow each other.
Yeah, it's weird. If I'm looking at it, it doesn't show that you are.
And there's a nice picture of you and Mike Potter. Follows you and
Yeah, I have my
and
homepage
following.
when he was with me when we recorded my podcast live.
You look very relaxed. That looks fun.
That was at my lake house, sitting on the lower porch.
So you live on Wonder Lake?
No, it's a summer home. Well, it seems to be
but the summer home is on Wonder Lake. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, I think I saw that on the map when we went out.
That is not too far from that spot.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing it. We went down. My wife and I went down to Crystal Lake.
Yep,
and
that's right. That's actually where the college is actually considered Crystal Lake.
Well, yeah, sort of, but there is an actual lake.
There is. Yep.
And we went there, and Lynn was like, "I was promised a Crystal Lake. Where is it?" so we so Wonder Lake's up a little bit.
Oh, there it is. I see.
Northwest.
Right. It's private. It's a private lake, though.
It's straight south. So we just and Lynn was just like, she was transfixed. She's like, this is great. Why don't we live here? I'm like, because it doesn't look like this in February.
Especially if you saw the picture I just posted a couple days ago, where the lake was already starting to freeze up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, Blinder Lake's a private lake, so you have to be a resident to be able to go on it.
Wow.
Ooh. Not a big deal, but you actually have to have lake rights. You can live in Wonder Lake and not be able to
have rights to drink water.
Like rights to be on the lake or go to the beaches or go on the lake with the boat.
How do they enforce that, David? I mean, do you have like gunships patrolling the?
No, there's all the launches. It's all individual.
It's contracted out to the North Koreans.
Oh God, it's individual subdivisions, and each subdivision has its own launching area. That they're all locked. They're all locked up. They could break in if they want to, but the police might show up.
That's funny.
Oh my!
So, Dave, do you know if Snuggery is still in business?
No,
it's not in business.
How do you know Snuggery?
We went there when we were up there, and I'm looking at it in Google.
It's now Moretti's.
Oh, okay.
It was in Fox Lake.
Well, it's in McHenry, right, or right across the river.
Snuggery. Oh yeah. No, that's gone.
That's too bad. We really enjoyed it. I was looking forward to going back.
And there's plenty of other places.
Yeah, but it was it was a really nice spot. We had a beautiful sunset, and people were showing up in boats and coming in for a drink and stuff. It was
Yeah, McHenry's right there. Maybe it's still there. No, it's Moretti's now.
yeah, it says Moretti, so
Yep.
so maybe it's still
Yeah, it's still got the
location's the
Riverside,
same. Yeah.
spot there. Yep. That's right. I forgot. I totally forgot that Moretti's took that over.
How
Moretti's,
dare you.
Moretti's actually has very good food.
Oh, there you go.
We
Is
have
that where
one-
you took me?
No, we went
What was
to.
the place you took me?
No, we went
Pizza
to Lou
Place.
Malnati's. Lou Malnati's.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually didn't go there on purpose. We were going to go somewhere else, and we went there and didn't like the look of it, and then we had driven by this place and that place looked good. So
Yeah, no, this is a good place. And still good now with Moretti's. I completely forgot they bought that.
all right, well,
They have quite a few locations in Chicago.
hopefully variants
suburb.
permitting, I'll get to go there again.
Mostly suburbs.
All right, guys, I got a boogie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Good seeing
Have
you
a great
again.
night.
Tonight.
Thank you,
Thanks.
chat room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, chat room.
Hey,
Like,
guys,
share, subscribe.
Yep.
Mac Parrot.
What are you saying, Chuck?
What's the other one?
And
Vert
don't
Shark.
forget, no show next week. Just
I took it off my calendar.
everybody remember. So
Okay.
What
Well,
happens
I'm
if we
gonna-
don't remember? I'll just show up and sit there
And be like,
waiting
where
by
is
my.
everyone?
There
Where
won't be a
are
link.
they?
There won't be a link in Slack, so you might have a tough time getting on.
Just stare at a blank screen.
I'm going to say goodnight to the chat room. Good night, chat room. I'm going
Good
to
night,
shut
chat
the
room.
live stream down. Everybody stay out of trouble if you can. If not, come back and tell us about it next time.
Have a safe trip, Chuck.